story. The Basic Education Minister Siviwe Gwarube has opened public comments for the BELA Act school regulations. The regulations relate to the introduction of electronic voting school governing bodies, strict financial controls on extra teacher compensation, among other things. The public has until the 5th of September to comment on the regulations. For more on this, I am now joined in studio by Sanet Solomon from the University of the Free State. Sanet, a very good evening to you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks so much for having me, Masa.
The BELA Act, it's been so contentious. We've seen protests, we've seen so much going on when it comes to it. What is the issue when it comes to just getting it right, especially when it comes to the public participation part of it?
I think one of the key things that people had a challenge with initially was that they felt that there wasn't timely consultation with different stakeholders. They wanted people to have more time to give input in terms of reading the bill, giving feedback to it. But there were also people who felt that certain communities did not have privy to the bill, despite the fact that these announcements are normally made on social media platforms, these official notices that go out, etc. I think that a lot of the schools were not aware of it, and I think that a lot of stakeholders would have liked to have an input in terms of this particular bill.
And talking about the input as well of those who were also left out of it, there was a lot of contention around the language issue.
Yes.
But I see also the SGB issue has also become quite a contentious issue as well. What are some of these sore points, some of these highlights?
As you rightfully mentioned, I think that a lot of people were concerned that primarily Afrikaans schools were concerned that they may not be able to continue teaching in this language. And it's a sore point for them because not only was the Afrikaans language taught as a language, but also some of the modules and subjects were offered in the Afrikaans language. So I think that that was one of the concerns. One of the key concerns was obviously with regards to the school governing bodies and the amount of say that the government would have in terms of that. Another different point in terms of this was homeschooling and how that would be regulated. I think that a lot of people mentioned that there was a need for regulation, but a lot of people felt like they were regulating or they were not sending their children to public schools due to some of the challenges that these schools were experiencing, etc. So I think that, again, there were a lot of issues, and I don't think that again, the facilitation and the consultation process allowed for people to actually raise what their concerns would be. And I think that, again, still we see these challenges.
You're talking about, you know, rightfully the people who felt like they were ignored. And there were a lot of stakeholders who felt they were ignored. And now we've got this public participation process. One, is it enough time to give for people to comment on such a very big bill that has to do with education that has been in the spotlight for a very long time now? And one could argue almost saw the breakup of the GNU because, you know, that also caused quite the rift as well. So if the public is feeling ignored by the process, and it's not the first time, we saw it with the NHI as well, what recourse does the public have to put pressure on these departments? Is our only last resort going to the Concord?
I think that, unfortunately, the Concord has become one of those outlets where people can mitigate or try to even alleviate the implementation of such laws. As you rightfully mentioned, the BELA bill has been quite a challenge since it was first brought in. I think that, especially in 2024, we saw a lot of back and forth with the DA, especially being against this particular bill. And I think that it was also a challenging thing, given that the Minister of Education or the Basic Education was a DA member. So I think that that also caused a rift in terms of where or not they would be going forth. I think that one of the key things that needs to be remembered is the process that needs to be followed with regards to the drafting of these bills. I think that public participation needs to be given more time. I think that a lot of stakeholders are ignored because of these time lapse. I think 1 to 2 months is not sufficient time. If you think that the bill is quite cumbersome for people who generally they read, and I would say read policy documents, it's quite quick to get through. But I think for ordinary individuals, especially schools as well, I think they need more time because they have to consult the parents, get the inputs from the different parents. They have to convene SGB body meetings, etc. And I think in terms of private schools, etc., I think they are also affected by the implementation of this, as well as those who are obviously homeschooling, because you don't just homeschool your child. There's regulations in place for that, etc. So I think that by extending the period of time that people have for inputs and consultations, I think that that would go a long way towards this. But I think that it's beyond just consulting people. It's whether or not the implementations and suggestions that people are giving are actually being implemented. And I think that since especially 2024, I don't necessarily think that a lot of changes have been made to it. And I think that, again, Parliament then needs to ask the questions, have we given people enough time to actually engage with the bill? Would it be better for us to send it back for another round of consultation? And also, what is the process in terms of consultation? Because, again, if you are living in a rural community, how often do those rural schools get consulted? And I think that that plays a huge role, because they all often bear the brunt of whatever we are implementing, because they tend to not have the kind of resources needed in order for them to engage with this kind of dialogue. So I think there's a lot that needs to be done, and I don't necessarily think that the Constitutional Court should be the starting point. I think that the minister needs to find a different way to actually engage these different stakeholders.
We ran out of time, but just quickly before I let you go, what can the government do to prove that these submissions and will be taken into consideration? They will influence the final act.
I think that by fostering more transparency in terms of the process that they followed, giving feedback, engaging different stakeholders, but also publicly sharing the process that they've gone through. I think they're saying that they've consulted, but it's still unclear in terms of what did this consultation entail, who was involved in the consultation, how much of feedback they got. I know they have all of the data already. I think it's just a matter of dispersing this information.
Well, Sanet Solomon, we are going to be waiting with bated breath to see what happens in the next step of this BELA bill. But thank you so much for coming into studio. Really appreciate your analysis and your time.
Thanks so much, Masa.